What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Brave in America. I'm your host, Jessie, and today's episode, we have another good episode for you, is another solo episode where I talk about some of the current events. Now, I did say that I was going to refrain from doing solo episodes, but we have yet to find a guest to talk about these current events. So before it slips our mind and before Americans decide to change topics like they change a TikTok video, I'm going to go ahead and give you some of the current updates. Now, I did say in the last episode that my goal was to bring people to have crucial and meaningful conversations, and that is still in the works. We have a couple of people coming on in the next few weeks, but for now, so we can stay current with the current events, we're going to talk about some of the things that are going on, and of course, try to stay as optimistic as possible while the entire nation is in chaos. So let's go and jump in. All right, guys. So it's 2026. We're about 15 days in. It seems like we have lived an entire 365 days, but we're only 15 days into 2026. And ever since the last few weeks of 2025, things have been chaotic. Crazy things have emerged, and now there's big stories all over the world, all fronts that Americans involved in. But one state that is in a current chaos and destruction is Minnesota. So for the past couple of weeks now, it's been about to be a little over a week. There's been a giant protest in Minnesota. So that's the first story I'm going to cover. Now, again, I'm going to be as in the middle as possible, try to see both sides, because I said last time that I don't want to start giving a one-sided commentary, not only from the conservative side, but also try to understand a little bit of the liberal. So that's why I wanted to invite people. Just a few days ago, I posted on my social media accounts of like, hey, we're not the real enemy. The real enemy is the corruption in the government, the media, bad actors, foreign agents, and then I'm still gonna stick to my word. So I do want to invite people from the opposing side, and of course on the same side, where we have these conversations, try to understand their take, but I haven't been able to find somebody that's willing to take the step and have these bold conversations with me. So in the meantime, we'll stay in the middle, try to look at it both sides, but for sure, I'm gonna be a little bit biased because I'm already taking a conservative side towards it. Now, we all have seen the video of the incident that happened between the ICE agent and the woman that her name was Renee Goodman has emerged all over social media. This has been the trending story for over a week now, and why Minnesotans, if you call them, or some people are calling them domestic terrorist groups, anti-ICE groups, protesters that are currently destroying the city, attacking agents, and just in chaos. So we all seen the video of the interaction between the two. Now, when it first came up on my radar, I was like, you know what? This leftist woman, this anti-ICE woman, was there at the wrong time. So as you're watching the video, and I don't want to replay it here because we all seen it from all different angles, and it doesn't matter what side you're on, you're gonna be a little bit biased. You're gonna already come with a pre-notion that is either the ICE agent's fault and that he should be held liable for the murder, or that the ICE agent acted in self-defense. In my case, when I saw the video, for the first time I saw the video, I was like, what he did, in my eyes, he acted in self-defense. Now, we've seen all angles, right? We've seen it from the point of view, the first initial video that came out by Renee Guzman partner was, which happens to be a woman. We also seen it from a different angle. Somebody was from filming from across the street or near the incident, and then we also seen it from the police officer, well, the federal agent point of view, which he was recording the time of the incident. Now, what I think, and again, this is my thoughts, and I already have a pre-notion. When I saw the video, I took the ICE agent's side. But this does not does not mean I don't condone the incident itself. It was a tragedy. By all means, a person's life was lost that day for an unnecessary reason. So, just to refresh your memory, this woman here interfered in an ICE operation in Minnesota where she put her vehicle in front of ICE agents. She has stopped traffic on both sides of the street. She stood there for about 4 minutes. ICE agents report to the door. Seems like they were trying to open the door while one ICE agent was recording, which is the one that was involved in the incident. So he was recording, and as he was recording all through the vehicle, getting the license plate, the same thing that these leftists love to do in protests. As he was doing that, he got in front of the vehicle, and when the other ICE agents tried to take this woman out, this woman automatically put her in reverse, put it in drive, and automatically seems like she hit the ICE agent. And once she hit the ICE agent was able to shift his body. As he was shifting his body, he was able to get about one shot first and then two shots from the side. So, again, in my eyes, I perceived it as self-defense because the woman, first of all, she interfered and impeded in an ICE operation, which is a federal operation. She broke several laws before the incident actually occurred. And look what happens. So what side you take it, because people say, well, look at the interaction, the conversation, as far as the words that were being exchanged, where the ICE agent that was involved in the incident, the one that fired the shots, he was filming. The woman that drove, Renee Good, she said, "I'm not even mad at you." And as he was going around, that's when she put it in reverse, hit it in drive, and hit him. Because there is a video that she did make impact with the ICE agent, and the ICE agent fired. And as soon as he fired, he said, "Effing B." So, we could argue it from different ways. He shouldn't have said that for sure. First of all, he shouldn't have fired the shots. But again, he felt like his life was in danger and he fired those shots. And she used the car, her vehicle, as a weapon. Just imagine that she successfully run him over at that point. Would the state of Minnesota be in the same chaos as it is now? I don't think so. They would have been celebrating that ICE agent. They would have been celebrating that he died on the scene. So it is crazy, right? It is. And again, it's a tragic incident that happened. Shouldn't have happened. She was there at the wrong place at the wrong time. And sometimes these people have to be held accountable. Now, this is not the accountability we were looking for. No, some people do need to get punched in the face every now and then, especially these leftist groups. But both the ICE agent and the federal agents, and again, I blame also the state, because I know these sanctuary states and where these governors like Tim Watts like always to go up against Donald Trump and his policies and invoke these violence. I blame them because they should have arrested these people as soon as they started breaking the law. There needs to be full accountability, and that's it. These people we're fighting on both ends. Liberals, conservatives are going at each other's neck, but the real issues is between these politicians that should hold us together, but yet their job and their mission is to still divide people. Instead of Tim Walz bringing the state together and saying, let's look at the evidence. Let's, he's going to have a trial. Let's present the evidence. Instead, he incites everybody to start a riot, to start protesting, stop burning down the city. And now, look at the destruction that's happened in Minnesota. So, again, nobody should have deserved to lose their life that day. The ICE agent himself, I'm pretty sure he's getting a whole bunch of death threats, but he was also involved, I think much prior, he was involved in an incident already, involving sort of a similar situation. In this case, though, he was trying to detain and comprehend an illegal migrant. Legal migrant drove away while he was attached to the vehicle. He had about several injuries. I'm not sure how long he was out, and people could argue back and forth that, well, he should have, maybe he had trauma, maybe he fully didn't recover, and he just reacted in the most crucial way. But I mean, I'm pretty sure he took all the precautionary measures to get back to work. And in that case, I mean, like I said, I'm coming with a notion already, because I am for law enforcement, for law and order. I am for law enforcement because I think they're very crucial to our society. They're the ones who enforce the law. But I mean, come on, you gotta watch the video, maybe without any commentary, without any words, which I'm pretty sure this is going to be a big case, if it isn't already, of the year. He's going to go to trial. Who knows if this is going to be elevated on a federal level, because we know Minnesota might have a lot of fraudulent people that are going to try to put this man in prison. So for now, he's proven, he's innocent until proven guilty. So we'll see what happens with that case. Again, it just right now, that's the issue that's really dividing the country. A lot of people are putting these hateful videos, going after these ICE agents, threatening them. And of course, ICE agents, regardless whatever you think about them, they're there to do a job. They're there to enforce the law, what they were hired to do. Whether you agree with deportations or not, these guys are federal agents at the end of the day, and we need to respect them. And I saw a video the other day. I don't know what the name of the guy is. His name, he was on Piers Morgan. I said Piers Morgan, the Uncensored. He said pretty much like, I wouldn't have any confrontation with somebody that has a gun, especially not law enforcement. And that's the thing. That's how we need to look at it. When somebody, especially law enforcement, when they have a gun, you're not going to go out there and act insane. You're not going to threaten them because they have a gun. I mean, here in Texas, we might have our own guns too, but we're not stupid enough to make a sudden move or try to go use our vehicle as a weapon to go after a cop, because we know we're going to get shot. So it's time to treat these law enforcements like real people that have guns that could take our life within seconds. And like I said, it's time to hold these people accountable already. It's time. Let them do time in jail. Let them do time in prison. It's time to enforce these policies, enforce these laws that were in place to protect people in the society. So they should have done this a long time ago. And it looks like in Minnesota, these ICE agents, these law enforcements, seems like they're putting people in handcuffs because they're getting in the way. They're still saying, shoot me, shoot me. Like, these people don't have common sense. They really don't. They don't have any common sense. Like, why, after you saw the incident, you still are gonna try to antagonize these federal agents? But you know what? That's beneath not beneath me, but that's above my comprehension, because again, I wouldn't confront anybody that has a deadly weapon that could take my life within seconds. So that's just my thoughts. You still have these anti-ICE groups out there going after ICE agents. They whatever your views are on mass deportation, just let ICE agents do their jobs. You know, Media's playing a big role in this too. They're deceiving you. They're pushing this propaganda down your throats that mass deportations, and of course, people on social media like to share and repost false um false things. They like to post false things because some of the stuff is not even real. If you look at the numbers, DHS has not released the official report of how many people were deported. There's unofficial reports that it's only 290,000 people that have been deported, and that's not counting self-deportations, because a large number of self-deportations play a big role of these mass deportations on the record, where they're showing that there's 2 million people that deported, but forcibly, the people that were detained and deported to their countries is a very low number. And DHS has not released the official report just yet. Because as soon as they release it, people are going to know that, like, dang, there's not really mass deportation, because there's not mass deportations. And plus, there's a lot of hoops they're still climbing. They're still dealing with the legal side of it. They still have low numbers. They don't have enough manpower to deport everybody. So these people that are saying that they're terrorizing the Hispanic community, they're going after brown people, they're stopping everybody in their corner. They're going into people's house, dragging them out, going into schools. That's all false. It's all propaganda. Because the numbers are not showing. Yes, they're in big cities, and you're going to see them there and there. Like here in Texas, we have state troopers that are closely working with ICE, but they're not going into people's homes. They're not terrorizing community. Because, to be honest, this is me. Look, this is my view. I stay not too far from Home Depot. The Home Depot, according to some people on Facebook, because we live here by a highway, that ICE agents were there. You would think that these illegal immigrants will not go there anymore. They were like, we're not going to go to Home Depot because we know that ICE is going to come and get us. And guess what? They're still there in the parking lot. And I'm sure, and again, I'm 100% sure they're illegal. They're in the parking lot still doing the same thing and trying to look for work. So my point is, these mass deportations are not really happening. What the Trump administration is doing is they're using propaganda. They're antagonizing the left, which that could be a big problem in either the next election or if a Democratic president is elected. But they're not doing these mass deportations, guys. They're not. The media is lying to you. The Trump administration, Trump himself. You have to look. Trump is an entertainer more than ever. Of course, he's our president. Of course, he's one of, the wealthiest man, the powerful man, however you want to view Donald Trump. But at the end of the day, Trump has always been in front of the cameras. Always. He's always been in front of the cameras. He knows what to say, and he knows how to get a reaction from people. He knows the right things to say. His timing is perfectly. Now, given his conversation is not like highly viewed as a Barack Obama or a Reagan. No, but he knows what to say to trigger a response. So again, guys, whatever your views are on mass deportations, stop antagonizing and stop thinking that you're above the law when you try to confront these ICE agents. Because again, they're federal agents and they could in your life in a couple of seconds. Sadly to say, I don't wish that upon anybody. But have common sense. They're saying that this lady was a mother, that she was a good woman, but she was there to antagonize. First of all, she was part of an anti-ICE group that goes there to antagonize ICE agents. She shouldn't have been there in the first place. She should have been at home with her kids or picking them up from school, but not putting herself in a dangerous situation where she thought at the time that she was above the law. So again, a tragic accident. My prayers go out to her and her family. Just like the opposing side, we don't celebrate this. We condone this. We acknowledge that there was a murder, a death, but we don't celebrate this. And that's going to be the key difference. We're not celebrating this. And again, my stance is to stay neutral for now because, again, I want to get different points of view. But again, I only give you one side of the commentary, and I need somebody on the other side to give me a little bit pushback. So with that, we have the other story, the most one of the craziest story that happened 2 days after the new year was the capture of the president of Venezuela. So I see it through two different lenses, right? First, I still don't think this was a good idea. Why? Because, at any point we knew this was going to happen, but we didn't know that he was going to go in there, that our military was going to go in there, kidnap a foreign president from a foreign country and his wife and bring them to the States to press charges of trafficking, of drug trafficking, of conspiracy to, have multiple weapons, whatever charges they're placing on him. So now he's awaiting trial for his case in New York. But man, like I said, I don't want America to get involved in foreign affairs. Trump was not transparent enough. It was not about trafficking because, his claim was that Venezuela was trafficking drugs into the United States, killing millions of people. But that wasn't the case. There was no drugs coming from Venezuela to the United States. That's all false. What they try to do, I wish they could be more transparent. The Trump administration was not transparent of what the reality is behind this, right? They were there to pretty much, in my eyes and in many people's eyes now, is to take over the oil reserves that Venezuela holds. Now, I thought that Venezuela was one of the biggest oil manufacturers. It turns out that they don't even produce as much as oil. What they have is one of the number one largest oil reserves in all over the world, which I was like, I did not know that until I dug deeper. And I was like, this makes a lot of sense. So wasn't any transparency. What he wanted to do is remove Nicolas Maduro so we could control their oil, cut off China, and of course Iran and Russia. But more importantly, China, because I heard China literally a couple of hours before a Chinese representative was in Venezuela. And then what happens? Hours later, this big operation took over. So I was against this operation because, first of all, I thought that it was going to bring us into another useless war. Two, I don't think they were transparent of what they really wanted to accomplish. Now it's becoming clear. And I just thought that our kids were going to get involved in another foreign war because I thought Iran, China, Russia was going to jump in and rescue Venezuela. But until now, that hasn't been the case. China, China's pissed because China was going to strike up a deal for Venezuela's oil. But it didn't happen. Now the ones that are calling the shots now is America. So now, on the other side of things, the way I see it, yes, this is our hemisphere. We, according to the Monroe Doctrine, we have every right to defend our hemisphere. And that's what happened, right? Now they're calling it the Don Roe Doctrine, which that's pretty funny. But you know what? Um, they took over. They completed the mission. In my eyes and other people that are commentating on this, there's not a complete regime change. It was a 2-hour operation that captured the Venezuelan president and placed the vice president in charge. But guess what? The contingent is you must obey all commands by America. Even Trump even said, well, who's going to run Venezuela? We are. And that is the case. It was an impressive mission. Of course, it just shows, it's in a signal out to the world that, hey, America could be knocking in your door within seconds and complete a mission like this. You cannot lie. It was impressive. It was impressive. Just like the Midnight Hammer, you cannot deny the U.S. military force. You just can't. Now, can they do that with other countries? I mean, other countries that don't pose a big threat. Yeah, but you can't do that in North Korea. You can't do that in Russia. You can't do that in China. So, yes, America has its boundaries of who they could bully, but these countries here that I just mentioned, they have nuclear weapons. They could just take out. They could just, signal the nuclear weapons if they feel threatened or feel like there is a military force heading their way. So, whatever your thoughts on that, I see it through two different lenses. But again, I still think it was wrong. You have the Venezuelan people celebrating. You have people that are here in America that happens to have roots from Venezuela celebrating, which, yeah, go ahead and celebrate. But just know that Trump did not do this for you. You know, America runs like a business. And America did not do this for you. Just to throw it out there, because people think, well, Trump acknowledged that Maduro was, a dictator, and that he was suppressing the citizens of Venezuela. Yeah, but Trump doesn't care. Trump did was with the best interest of America, and to cut out China from this oil. So, whatever your thoughts on this, I'm still in the middle because I think that China is pissed. China has something up the sleeves. And also, who are we, right? Because we want to be able to bully countries. We want to be able to take control of our hemisphere, which is the Western Hemisphere. But who are we to say to Russia when they want to take over Ukraine? Who are we to tell China not to take over Taiwan, which is it's in the best interest of their nation and it's on their side of the hemisphere. So again, we want to do things that only benefit us, but when it comes to other countries, we want to police what they do. So that's another big problem. We'll see what happens. Venezuela right now is under control of the United States. So far, Trump has he has signaled out multiple threats to countries in our regions like Cuba, which was the main observer, the ones that receive majority of the oil from Venezuela for free. They're going to take a massive hit because they're not going to receive the same oil supplies like they once were. also threaten the cartels in Mexico. So right now, Trump is bullying people in our hemisphere, and that could cause a lot of issues. We could push Cuba, which many people could argue Cuba is a communist country. They have an awful dictator. It's been a control. It was control over the Soviet Union. Somehow America got involved. We tried to topple the regime. We were unsuccessful. But at the end of the day, and I'm adopting this America first mindset because that has nothing to do with us, guys. That has nothing to do with it's not our job to try to topple a regime in another nation. We now give it, we might in the past decades, we might have played a big role of why that country became um that particular either whatever issues happened in that country in the past, we might have been we might have played a part of it. I mean, who knows? Because there's so many history out there. Um, but at the end of the day, we're being the bullies, and what is that going to happen in the future, right? Which brings me to my next story. So the next thing I do want to talk about is Greenland. Right now, Trump has been wanting to take over Greenland since the beginning of this term, which he also mentioned it in his first term. Many people forget that when he said that, I want to take over Greenland, I want America to own Greenland, they thought he was crazy. He mentioned it again in his first term, and he has not stopped talking about taking over Greenland. Now, in the past couple of weeks, he's said we're either going to strike up a deal with Greenland or we're going to take it by force. So, what does this mean? Greenland is it's all a geopolitical move. This is all geopolitics. America does not want China and Russia to take over it, which a lot of people from Greenland and the territory that because we have to know Greenland is not their own sovereign country. They actually are a territory that belongs to Denmark, which is in Europe. So the government of Denmark, which are the Danish, they have said multiple times that they're taking Trump's threats seriously and that if he takes Greenland by force, that is an act of war and he is going up against the relationship of NATO. So again, wherever you take on this, again, this is all geopolitical. There's a lot of critical minerals in Greenland. The ice is clearing up, so there's going to be another transportation for goods, transportation for a faster transportation in the Arctic area. But I don't know how to feel about this. Whether China and Russia want to take over, but Greenland happens to be in a very strategic place. You know, America has attempted to buy Greenland twice already. I think one time it was over 100 million during after World War II. President Truman had offered about 100 million to buy Greenland, you know, and Denmark refused because Denmark at that time is still controls Greenland. So we weren't able to purchase Greenland. We do have military bases in Greenland, but Trump wants to control Greenland, whether he wants to make Greenland a territory or become another state. But Greenland, a lot of Greenlanders, whatever you call their citizens, I don't even know if I said that right. Whatever you call their citizens, um, they said multiple times, and I've seen multiple videos that some of them do want to become part of the United States. Others were like, no, we actually want to become our own sovereign country. But at the end of the day, I think it's up to them. I think it's up to them if they want to become a part of the United States. But I do not think and hope that the United States takes Greenland by force because that would that will be a big problem. Um, that will break up NATO, and by doing that, those European countries in NATO are going to be targets by China and Russia. So that's going to be a big issue. I think Trump is trying to play his cards right. He knows that NATO needs America. He knows that. But also, I believe America needs NATO. And I know, given that we pay NATO, we send NATO so much funds, we have a gigantic budget for NATO. But at the end of the day, I think that's what is keeping Russia and China on their toes, because they see, well, we are a big nation. We do have nuclear weapons, but they have countries as well that have nuclear weapons. So it's just, again, it's all geopolitics. Whether this administration is going to execute and take over Greenland, we'll see. I think it's more prominent that we do at some point. But if we do, again, if we do, in my eyes, one, if Greenlanders want to become part of the United States, or two, if Denmark just decides to sell it to the United States. But that's going to be very critical. Greenland is one of the biggest islands in the world. So, and it's becoming very clear that they hold a lot of critical minerals that every country wants, which is America for sure. Russia's right there, not too far from it. Because, again, if you look at the maps, they're right at the center of the Arctic. And you can see on the maps, United States a little bit by Alaska, Canada's fully there, and then you have Russia. China's nowhere near there, according to the maps. But that doesn't mean that they're not joining forces with Russia. So give it, what do you think about this? If we're going to see a war break out because of this, whether on the NATO side, America against NATO with the European countries, or just a all-out World War III. And I think it's becoming more evident that we're closer and closer to a disaster with all these foreign countries, America getting involved, being bullies. And yeah, I think countries are tired of it, and they're going to step up the game, in particular China and Russia. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I pray to God that, God places his hand of protection over every country, and of course allow these powerful men not to make bad decisions that would affect their citizens. So we'll see what happens. On that note, still with other foreign countries, it seems like we're on the brinks of another war with, well, to intervene in another war with Iran. It seems that we're getting closer and closer. Um, America said that I think they told military bases to clear out because America will attack Iran in the next couple of days. So with that, on my take on that, I don't for sure Iran is an ocean away, has nothing to do with us, but it goes back to Israel. Israel wants to completely eradicate Iran. Remember the first time what happened when they did the midnight Operation Hammer? They dropped the bombs because they quote unquote said that Iran had nuclear weapons, when the DNI has said, Tulsi Gabbard, which, what's going on with Tulsi Gabbard? I have not heard from her ever since she gave a speech from and Charlie's Kirk Memorial. Where's she at? She has not said a single thing. And I guess it shows you that the DNI has really no say. It's just a front, a position to make us feel that there is somebody overseeing the national intelligence agencies, but they're really not. So, um, yeah. So Iran, well, to backtrack, Israel wants Iran gone. They want him to completely be eradicated from the Middle East because Iran poses a great threat to Israel. Iran has over 90 million people. They have twice as more military personnel. They have weapons. They have missiles. And they cannot take on Iran on themselves. So what they do is they have their partner, or you could say their child, because it seems like Israel is the U.S.'s daddy, to come in and intervene and clean up the mess for Israel. So that is what it seems like. We all know that Bibi Netanyahu has been to the White House numerous times, and every time he goes, he's talking to Donald Trump to intervene and take out Iran. So we'll see what happens. That completely should not be on the table. We have no say what happens in Iran. Again, they're a completely ocean away, not in our side of the hemisphere. Again, the United States wants to be the police of the world, and we want to be in multiple fronts, but what's going to happen when it all comes crashing in at the same time? Are we able to handle that? I'm not too sure. And I don't think we have. Yes, we have the strongest military in the world, but how many people we have joining the military? Because we know that war is evident in the next year. Well, I don't even say the next year, maybe in the next couple of years. So we'll see what happens with that. I disagree with us intervening with Iran. I disagreed it the first time, which that was my turning point to realize that dang, Donald Trump is compromised. Israel calls the shots, and is no longer America first. It's Israel first. So we'll see. And I think that's one of the reasons why Charlie Kirk also too, because leading up to this event, the first event where the U.S. military dropped those bombs in Iran, Charlie was against it. And behind closed doors, from what I heard and what I read, he was very against it, that he even called up the president and the vice president, and they pretty much told him, shut up. This is not, you have no say. Keep doing your thing. Keep, pushing out our propaganda. You have no say what we do. So I heard Donald Trump pretty much stomped on Charlie Kirk, and that's when we noticed that after that, he was starting to see a shift and starting to realize that these Jewish Zionists in Israel, in particular, are calling the shots, and the president of the United States has been compromised by these Zionists. So that's my take on that. Iran, we'll see, man. That's the most one that I'm kind of, well, not even kind of, I'm really worried about, because that will just, Iran has also said that they're not going to back down this time, that they're going to go up against the United States, and I think that's going to be a pathway to bring in China and Russia. But we'll see. We pray to God that this doesn't happen. I pray to God that peace, and all over the world. So I think that's pretty much it. I think one of the other big stories that broke out is these Minnesota daycare centers, where this YouTuber uncovered billions of fraudulent scamming from these Somalian communities. So comes to find out that our taxpayer dollars are paying these Somalian communities to have these centers, but without any kids. So him and some other gentlemen were able to uncover the truth behind that and the corruption that's going on in Minnesota. And of course, the Somalians, whether they're citizens or not, they committed scam. They taking our tax dollars to pay themselves and to send money back to Somalia on our tax So hopefully these people are put in prison. In particular, these politicians that were involved in this scam. Tim Watts announced that he's not going for re-election for governorship in Minnesota, which is he part of the fraudulent scheme? I believe so. I mean, he knew what's going on, what funds are being sent out to these departments, in particular in the state. But yeah, I think the number is 9 billion in fraudulent scamming. In my eyes, it's not even a race thing; it's anybody that was involved. And if it happens to be majority Somalians, then I think they should be put in jail, or somehow, if they're not citizens, I think is a good time for them to be sent back home because they're taking our hard-earned money, um, using it for themselves. They're not even using that government assisted money for good use. They're pocketing this money, and yeah, on the dollars, on the tax dollars payroll, um, it's a big problem. So we'll see what happens. Are we gonna finally get politicians held liable? Because man, it's becoming clear that these politicians think they're above the law and that the law doesn't apply to them. And this administration and previous administrations need to start holding these people accountable. And it starts with the Trump administration. Yes, it does. If there's people, bad actors, bad politicians in that circle, send them to jail, have them prosecuted because, you know, it seems like it doesn't apply to them because somehow they get away with it. The left or right find loopholes. They get a pre-pardon, like Biden pre-pardoned his son, Anthony Fauci, those people that were on the January 6th committee. Um, yeah, it doesn't make sense. We know that these politicians are involved, and I think it's time to hold them liable. It is. I mean, we're tired of these politicians and people that are put in these seats to advocate for the American people when they're not fulfilling. And also too, once you hear every hearing they have, whether it's the Jeffrey Epstein hearing or the Minnesota corruption hearing, why is not every seat filled up? There should be a mandatory law that states that if you're going to be a politician, whether you're a senator, a House of Representative, whatever committee you're on, that you're obligated to be there. You're obligated to be there because you work for us. So none of this work from home. I know some of us like to work from home, but if you work for the government, get your behind to Washington and stay in Washington until we get stuff done. Because this is already tax dollars. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed in this country. And it starts with having these politicians actually go to Washington and do their jobs. If not, because they have the ability to shut down the House for a couple of months to go on vacation. No, you shouldn't be going on vacation until stuff gets done. Until you get what needs to be done, until you get policies, until you get this country back together, you shouldn't even go home. And if that's the case, you should be either discharged from your position, fired, replaced, however it works. But we need people that are there to get stuff done. And that in a story with that, because I could go on and on. But again, it's what needs to happen because these politicians behind closed doors, they work for either big pharma, these political interest groups, these APAC group, these foreign agents. They're there to make policies that benefit them. that benefits the corporation, not for the American people. So if you're there, like AOC, Jasmine Crockett, that just run their mouth and want to be this social media influencer, and also too, it's even on the right. I'm not just blaming the left; it's also on the right too. These guys, oh, we're gonna vote. We're gonna vote. Is it the Democrats? Republicans is you too. You, especially on the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Don't even get me started on the Jeffrey Epstein case, because I don't think we have enough time to cover everything that wait, isn't even everything. The AG, Pam Bondi, has not released, according to the Transparency Act, has not released the files that needs to be released. So that tells you that for one, they're not following the law. So we'll see what happens to that. The more that we see the corruption, the deception, the more we see that people, these politicians are not there to represent us, turn our backs on us, the more that we're going to continue to distrust the government. So those are my take on things. The Maha movement is doing great things. If we could all agree on one thing, both the left and right, the center, the libertarians, we could all agree that RFK, the HHS, and all the agencies under that are doing a great job. And I do applaud RFK Jr. for the massive moves he's making, eliminating the old food pyramid, and getting rid of these artificial dyes, having these companies like these Coke products changing their ingredients, and also revising the vaccine schedule for children. So Maham doing great things for America. I still hope and continue they continue to fulfill and complete the mission. But again, the one thing that we could agree on is this particular department that is doing great and big things. That is pretty much it. I wanted to cover a small, well, I was going to say a small list, but it was actually a big list. But hopefully you're able to get my take on things. Let's start having more people on. Let's get their take on things. And let's continue to see what happens. That is pretty much it. Hope that you are having a blessed day, a blessed week, a blessed January. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.